Hi, first grade. We're going to talk some more about nonfiction writing. So in my last video, I took a look at this book about rhinos. And in this story, we noticed a lot of nonfiction text features. And we know that sometimes it's helpful to look at a book to learn how you can incorporate some of this stuff into your writing too. So some of the things that we noticed last time was a table of contents. This is something that I do want you to try today after you've finished your nonfiction story. You can organize all of your ideas into some form of a table of contents, and I'll show you how we can do that just on a plain piece of paper. The other thing that I want you to be trying is that heading. So whatever you're grouping, whatever you're organizing your ideas into, whatever that heading is, you can write that at the beginning of your writing paper too, okay? You can try to include some nonfiction text features when you do your drawings too, but mostly those headings. If you wanted to try to make some bold words, you can do that as well, okay? I want to show you my web that I made about rhinos. I'm going to turn my computer this way. Okay, so what I did is I went through the book and I did some more research because I had started writing about rhinos in my last video, and then I thought maybe I needed to do a little bit more research so that I could understand more about them. So the first thing that I did is I thought, what do rhinos eat? And I started up here. So I drew the line and connected it to my title, which is rhinos, and I picked my first heading, and that is going to be all about what rhinos eat. And after reading this story, I came up with 4 ideas. They eat plants, leaves, grass, and they are herbivores, okay? Then I went over here and I did a category or a heading about live. Where do rhinos live? They can live in grasslands, woods, and jungle. For this chapter or this section about live, I'm probably going to have about 3 sentences in this section. Then one thing I learned is about what they look like. So I made a heading down here of look like, and then I found they have thick skin. They have 3 toes on each foot. They have hair on their ears. And then for this one, I'm going to write that they have horns, and then I even added in that they have an extra detail, and I'm going to say that those horns are actually on their nose. Okay, so I'm going to do 2 sentences for this one. I'm going to write my first sentence about they have horns, and then I'm going to add in an extra sentence to give more details. The horns are on their nose. And then the last section that I'm going to write about for my rhinos story is the types of rhinos that there are. So in the book I learned that there are 5 types of rhinos. Since there are 5 types, I wrote all 5 types in their own bubble here, and I'm probably going to have 5 sentences, 1 for each of the types of rhino. Okay? The first thing I want to do is write about what rhinos eat. So I'm going to use my web. And I'm going to just write here on the board so that you can see what I'm doing here. So my first thing that I have written down is that rhinos eat plants. Okay, so all that I wrote on my web is the word plants. So I have to be able to take the word plants and turn it into a sentence. And so what I'm thinking I'll probably do is write rhinos eat plants. I'm going to keep it pretty simple. Okay, rhinos eat plants. Remember, we've talked about that I don't want you to put they eat plants because your reader might not know who they are. So at least for your first couple of sentences, you want to write who you're writing about, whether it's rhinos or if you're writing about your mom or you're writing about the beach. You want to say what you're writing about so that people are not confused. If you just say they eat plants, your reader might wonder, well, who eats plants? So we're going to give them specific ideas. Rhinos eat plants, okay? Then what I can do on my web here is I can go I wrote plants, and I can just check that off. I'm done with that idea. My next idea I have here is leaves or grass or herbivore, okay? So I can come up with another sentence about how rhinos eat leaves. I don't want my sentence to sound exactly the same. I'm going to try to get creative in my sentence so that it doesn't say the exact same thing, because it could sound kind of boring if I just say rhinos eat plants, rhinos eat leaves, rhinos eat grass. That would be kind of a boring story. So I'm going to try to use some different words in there. I think I'm going to try this sentence starting off with the word also. Kind of a transition word there. Also, I'm going to put a comma because when you're saying that word, your voice will pause. Also, rhinos like to eat leaves. Okay, so I switched it up just a little bit. So I'm going to go back to my web here. I'm going to go where I said leaves, and I'm going to check that idea off. I'm done with writing about leaves now. So far I have rhinos eat plants. Also, rhinos like to eat leaves. Do you see how I kind of changed up the words just a little bit? I just added in the word also and like to make it sound a little bit different than the first sentence did. Okay, now I'm going to add the word grass. But what I'm thinking I want to do for my last two ideas, I have grass and I have herbivore. I think I'm going to combine those together and make a sentence that has just a couple of extra details. So I think for my next one, I'm going to write about the word herbivore. So instead of just writing the word herbivore, I have to take that word herbivore and turn it into a sentence. So what might that sound like? Herbivore. Think in your head, what would you write? How could you take the word herbivore and turn it into a sentence? Okay, I'm thinking I'm just going to write rhinos are herbivores. That's a long word. Okay, and then I can cross off that I wrote the word herbivores. Now, I'm going to write the word grass in my next sentence. I'm going to say, rhinos are herbivores. This means they eat grass. And I'm going to add some extra details. And other plants. Okay? So I've taken all of my ideas from my web now, and I can cross each of them off, and I'm done with this section about eat, okay? If you're setting up a paper at home, you might have just set up a plain piece of paper like this. This is kind of what our writing paper looked like at school, where we would write the title or the heading of each page, each chapter, right at the top here. So for this one, I might write the word eat, because that's what this is about. I'm writing eat. And then all of these sentences that I just wrote here, I would probably put them at the bottom of the page here. But since I'm having to teach you through a video, it was easier for me to write it up here on the whiteboard. Okay? Now, for the box about what I'm going to draw, what do you think would make sense to draw here? What kind of nonfiction text feature could we include in this chapter? We're talking about that they eat plants, that they eat leaves, that they eat grass, and that they're herbivores. I'm thinking for this one, what you could do is just draw several different types of food, what they like to eat, and then label it. So maybe I want to draw that they eat leaves. And then just so everybody knows what it is, we can write a label, okay? Because that doesn't really look like a very good leaf, but I did my best, right? And then I'm going to draw that they like to eat grass. Just draw some grass here, and then I can label it just so everybody knows what that is. Okay? And then if there were any other types of plants that I wanted to draw, I could draw some more plants just to make sure that I'm labeling it so that people know what those things are. Okay? When you've written your first chapter, then I want you to go back to your web, and I want you to move on to whatever your second chapter is going to be. So for me, if I was going to continue writing right now, I would move on to my chapter about live. And I would make probably 3 sentences about where rhinos live. But do the same thing that we talked about up here at the very beginning. Try not to make your sentence sound exactly the same. You don't want it to just say, rhinos live in grasslands, rhinos live in woods, rhinos live in jungles, because that sounds kind of boring. So we want to try to be creative as a writer and add in some extra words and some extra details to make our writing sound a little bit better. So maybe something like, rhinos live in grasslands. You could try another word like this. Also, you can find a rhino in the jungle. Maybe my last sentence I could say something like, there are also some rhinos that live in the woods. Okay, so add in some extra words, get creative with your writing today, see what kind of details you can add in to make your writing sound really good, okay? And then once you've finished your writing, you can go back and you can create a table of contents. I'm going to just spin this around here. Actually, I'll just do it on a piece of paper. Okay, so for this paper, I might write about my table of contents here. So for a table of contents, really all that you need to do is just write table of contents at the top. Okay, so label what the page is. This is kind of like we did in our nonfiction text feature book. Okay, table of contents. Then what you can do is go down through and write the headings that you've created. So for me in my rhino story, I would be like this, eat. And then if you want to, you can include some of those dots. Page 1. My first page would be about eat. And then my second page might be live. And then I would do some of those dots here. Live is going to be on page 2. My third page, I'm going to do look like. So you can write the heading here of that section. That's going to be on page 3. Okay? And then the last one that I'm going to do is a type of rhino. So I'm going to write types of rhinos, and you will find that on page 4. Okay, so you can just take a plain piece of paper like this and try to create a table of contents, just showing what heading you have and then showing what page number that can be found at. So those are some things you can try at home today. Today is the last day that we're going to be doing nonfiction writing. Next week, I'm going to be starting some videos with you about fiction writing. So we're going to be writing more makeup stories and pretend characters, and we're going to be talking about problems and solutions and all of those things that you would find in a fiction story. So take some time today to write one more story. Remember to create your web if you're starting out. Once you've created a web, you can create your own type of paper to write on and then include all of your ideas below. Take some time to draw pictures and include nonfiction text features. And then if you really want to try one extra nonfiction text feature, go ahead and try a table of contents to finish off your story. Okay? Great job today, you guys. Go ahead and do some independent writing at home and show your parents what good writers you are becoming. Bye!